Hello, everyone. This is the Artist Cafe, where we come together to talk about art and life and whatever else is on our minds. I'm Ann-Marie Cheung. I'm a visual artist and creative adventure guide. And today I have my special guest, Robina Bennion, with me. So, Robina, if you could give a little introduction to yourself. And
Sure. Well, first, thank you for having me on here. I'm really excited. This is really the first time I've been invited to talk about art, even though we're going to talk about life. So that makes me giddy, especially just coming off this last weekend. But my name is Robina Bennion, like Ann-Marie said. And for this part of me, like this artistic part, I go by like painting doula, but on the other side of what I do, I'm a soul, self, and wealth doula. And that really was born from a career that I think many people have the same story. We get to this point in our lives and decide after 25 years in a career that it's time for something new. And that led me to working with people. I became a certified money coach and a certified business archetype coach. And that really has to do with the behavioral aspect around money and our beliefs and our behaviors. And then it kind of just rolled into other things. And I don't know what you say. I just rounded it out, so to speak, because it brings in so much of who we are, how we show up in the world and how we show up for ourselves personally, and then bringing in that wealth component, but really helping people to step into like what is wealth truly and redefining that and transforming their relationship with themselves and their friends and family, but also money. And then along the way, I found this new passion for painting that I didn't know was existing inside of me. It's always kind of been there and popped up in various forms, but only until recently, really in December, I started painting, and now here I am.
Wow, you have so many awesome things to share with people. Perfect.
Don't we all?
Many of us don't realize what we do have to share as well.
Yeah.
So we met through the Creatively Fit coaching training with Whitney Freya. So how did you come to Whitney's world in the first place? What brought you there?
Well, like I said, back in December is when I started painting. The gathering of the creatives had gone online, and I had been following it for a few months. I think a while. I was contemplating going because there was just something that said, go this direction. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go that direction. And it went online, obviously. And Whitney's was one of the classes that I took. I did the Yes painting in there. That's the one that she led. And I loved I think Whitney's style, and there may be other artists that do it. It's just that was my first exposure to really just allowing whatever you wanted on the canvas. Whereas a lot of how I always looked at art was it was very like you're painting a house, you're painting this, you're painting the dog. And my linear side of my brain, because I was a CPA for 20 plus years, was very like, okay, it's like I made it too complicated. So taking Whitney's class and being able to just put words on a canvas and then painting over it. And I had already done a few of the other classes by then, so I loosened up. It just spoke to me, and I fell in love with it. And so I just kind of explored what is it that Whitney does, and decided, I'm going to go down this path of the creatively fit coach. I've done a lot of coaching stuff and with clients, but not necessarily in the art realm, and just see what opens up. And it was such a blessing because there's so many coaches in there that you don't really just get Whitney, you get everybody. And that's really, I think, a special thing about the community, and everybody's so supportive.
It is.
And it makes sense. Look at Whitney, that's just her energy.
Yeah, it's such an amazing community. Like, it's so inspiring. Everyone is so supportive and inspiring. I love it.
Yes. Yeah.
I am just going to have a look on my phone to see if there's if anyone has any comments or questions, if they could post them in the comments, and I will check and see if they're what's going on here. Trying to get to the live. Okay, no comments as of yet. But,
it's early. And people are waking up.
Do you have a favorite symbol that you like to work with, or a few symbols? Because we do a lot
well,
of.
I have a symbol that's in my logo, but I have a hard time painting it. But lately, and it's interesting because the group has been talking about this, is it's like a diamond, but it's a triangle on top of a triangle, which what they were saying is a rhombus or something. So that comes up for me a lot in my painting. And then every once in a while, the infinity symbol will sneak in there.
Yeah, I love the infinity symbol. And the spiral comes up a lot for me too. And also the heart symbol.
Catching a lot of that spiral energy. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the painting behind you. Is that a Tara painting or?
It is. That was so after just finding Whitney, I decided I was going to do her Tara, and I made it to day 13. I started it on New Year's Eve, and I kind of fell in love with where she was at, and I decided I wasn't going to paint any further. I haven't quite mastered that detachment, and I was like, you know what, it's okay. There's that part of me that I always feel like I have to finish something, but I'm like, you know what? There's nothing that says I have to do all the days consecutively. And if I want to just let her sit and be what she is right now, that's okay. Because that's how we are, right? When we're going through our journeys, at least for me, as I'm journeying in my own personal growth, it's not like every day I'm doing something new. There's times that I have to allow that phase that I'm in to integrate and show up, and that's like what I feel like she's doing right now behind me.
And you can also just have like a canvas just to meditate on too, and just paint and just come to it every day, and just use it as a meditation canvas, right?
Yeah. Well, I love one of the exercises from the 24-hour paint jam this weekend that happened, or it was on summer solstice, depending on when you're watching this, is when instead of writing words on the canvas, we put our hands on the canvas.
Oh, nice.
And I haven't really done that before, to really just lay my hands on the canvas and meditate and put that energy into it in that way, obviously with my thoughts and my words and my paint I have, but really touching the canvas. That was a special experience.
Beautiful. I have a question from Christine. She says, do you ever feel stuck creatively? If so, how do you get unstuck?
Yes, I do. Some days I don't paint for a couple of days, but I think picking up a new canvas helps, because then what I will do is I have some free flow paint, and then I just close my eyes, and I just feel like, what does that energy feel like in me? Like, sometimes I will just take my paint and I'll just go like this with the brush, and then like my energy is like that. But other times I'll just close my eyes and I'll just kind of let the paint go. And it's really like releasing that side of me that's wanting it to be perfect, or trying to figure it out, or thinking about what I'm painting. That way I don't have to. And it goes for writing too. Like I wrote a book, and it's like, sometimes I just set it down and I'll come back to it when it feels right, versus forcing myself. But the free flow really helps. And I started actually with the watercolor pens. And that takes a lot of the pressure off, because initially I was trying to paint stuff and then the water just takes over. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to put this color where it feels right. I'm going to add water and energy, right? It goes through the water and onto the canvas. And that really allowed me just to release into what wanted to come through. That would be how my recommendation to people. And that's how I work through it when I'm feeling blocked.
Yeah, it's lovely seeing how the paint spreads with the water too. And I've added salt to it as well too. And seeing that the reaction, the reaction of the salt is it's not the way it spreads the paint kind of randomly.
Oh,
and it also salt, adding salt is also can be a representative of tears and emotions in that too, adding it. Right, so that's exciting. Oh, so tell me about your book.
So I wrote a book. I have a program that I did, and it was called Vision by Design, where I wanted to support people in looking at the ways that they set goals and do it differently. Because in my, career and throughout my life, it was like, what do you want to do? And at a very young age, I'm like, I'm going to be a CPA. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to be a CPA. And it's like thinking about the end result, but not the whole process. And I know that, things have evolved since I started that career, but I find now for me, and through my career, if someone said, set a goal, Robina, I would just shut down, like that block we were just talking about, because I didn't want to have the wrong answer. I didn't want to write something down that I couldn't achieve, because then somehow I failed. And so I created a course to help people to design their goals differently and take all of who they are into consideration. So I wrote this book here. It's called Soul Self Wealth Guidebook, and it's Goal Setting Reimagined. And it's a 12-week process. Like I said, I created it for the course of stepping people through, like, what is your dream really? Because I believe that goals really are dreams. They've just been rebranded as goals, not to, to keep us from realizing what we're doing, but we're creating our dreams every day, right? You and I are talking, and this is a dream for me. So stepping people through that process, getting comfortable with a new way of talking about their goals, but also like finding out, does this align with who I am? Does it align with like my soul and what I'm being called to do? And does it align with my wealth, which is your energetic wealth, your financial wealth, all of that stuff, and bringing all of you into the equation versus just, I'm going to do X and not really thinking about the process. Along with that, it's giving people permission. And I think this canvas is so representative of it, of you can change that goal, your dream, along the way. I tell people it's like building a house. Yes. I may decide I'm going to build a house. And as I start creating it, I realize I want a bigger closet or a different layout. And our dreams are no different. But, a lot of the goals in the way that, at least that I was taught, is it's just this set and done, and not really building in the variations, because life, is not set. It's not cookie cutter. And you can start out on one journey and it ends up completely different. So
exactly.
That's what that's all about.
Yes. The twists and turns of our journeys are always changing.
Yes.
And Christine has another comment. I was writing in my journal today what my dreams are. Nice.
Yeah.
And before that, another comment. I love that. Thank you. I have several specific paintings I need to finish, and I find myself getting frustrated because I'm a perfectionist. My perfectionist is getting in my way. That was the comment about how to get unstuck in your creativity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, something that's helped me in that, I'm a big fan of Gary Zukav's and Seed of the Soul. And in following him and everything, like this idea of perfection, like there is no, like, it's kind of a egg chicken thing, because it's like it's perfectly imperfect. Like there is no perfection, but that's where the perfection is. So and it's really that actually then everything is perfect. And so even those incomplete paintings, I just say, where it stands, like I have a few where I'm like, ooh, but it's perfect in what I created, because it's helping me to learn something about myself. And even in the incomplete canvases, I can reflect and say, okay, what is it that's keeping me from completing it? Like that attachment, like, with Tara, like I love where she's at, or maybe I don't love where something's at in that painting over the process. But in all of that, I know that it's perfect just the way that is, because it's showing me something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much we learn from the canvas, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Definitely. So do you remember as a child what your first experience was creating art?
Oh, one memory that comes back to me the most, my mom tells me that the one time I decided to draw, it was all over my bedroom wall. I don't remember that because I was little. Ironically, my youngest son, I couldn't get him to color either. And the first time he did, it was on our fireplace. Mm-hmm. But the one that always comes back to me was those design sketches. I don't know if you ever had them, but it was like you could pick the head of the gal, and then you could pick the blouse, what she was wearing.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
And I was always mixing and matching them. And like, you do the sketch over and you could change them. I never found one that was like just right. Like, oh, I love her hair and this blouse and the bottom, but just, mixing those up. I remember I would play with those for hours. And we're getting in the process. My mom is selling the home that I grew up in, and we were there for 40 years. And I was like, if you find them, please let me know.
Oh,
'Cause I would love to have those trays and just play with them.
yeah, fashion plates. That's
Yes.
Christine made that comment. Yeah,
Yeah.
fashion plates. Is that what they're called?
There's something like that. I feel like that's what they were, but that was probably the first. And there's other things. I think as I look back and little creations that I made.
Yeah, because we're all creative. Like as a child, we have that creativity where we just create and we don't care. It's just ingrained in us.
Yeah,
it's part of being human, I believe.
Yeah, it is. And
yeah,
I didn't really realize it, and for me, I grew up, I know one of your other guests, you guys were talking about tattoos. My brother is an amazing artist in his own right. I'm finding like there's so many forms of art, but when I grew up, he would see something and he could replicate it. Like I have a drawing of my two boys that he did, and it just looks like a black and white photo. And he now does tattoos. And so I grew up with a brother that did that kind of art. So for me, I couldn't do that kind of art. So, I can look at something and I can draw it pretty well, but I thought, oh, I'm not artistic in the way that he is. And then in high school, I took an art class and I came up right behind him in high school. So everyone's like, oh, your brother, they know who he is. And there's this one I still have it. I loved it. And I looked on the back and I got a B. And I was like, but art is so subjective. How can you give me a B?
Yeah, I know. Right.
But that was really the kind of the end of like that art. You're thinking, oh, I'm going to do art. And now I realize there's just so many forms. And I have two boys who are very artistic, but so different.
Yeah, it's all about the expression too, not whether you can replicate something the way it looks like, but I think it comes more from your heart and your soul, what you create on the canvas.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm finding, like, I'm looking over at all the art from this weekend, like when I just let go and what comes to me and I honor that, like what shows up on the canvas is better than anything that I could replicate from somebody else. And even this weekend, or with the 24-hour paint jam, I really enjoyed it because here people from around the world were listening to one person give guidance on, write some words, do this, but we all created our own designs. And it goes to show you, like, we can all listen to the same thing, but when we listen to our soul, what we create is similar but different and beautiful in its own way.
Definitely, yes. So yeah, I missed the paint jam. I wasn't a participate in it this weekend.
So
you
can go back and watch it.
yeah, I had a couple of art shows this weekend, so I couldn't attend fully. But I would love to do it if she does it again. I would love to participate in it. Sounded so much fun, and there was also some collaborations that were going on, like some people working on the same canvas, and it looked so amazing.
Yeah. So art shows, were you live? Were you?
It was live through Zoom because we're still just opening up here where I am in Ontario, Canada. We were in lockdown since just last week. We just started to reopen again, so we're not doing anything in person at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's exciting. An online art show. Was it were you painting or were you just sharing your art?
I was sharing my art, along with 10 other artists from around the world. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, your art is beautiful. Like, I love your art. And I think you did a book recently as well, right?
I have my recent one is a coloring book I have out right now.
Yeah. I remember seeing you put that out there, because it's the ones where it's just that it's like meditative, just coloring
Yeah,
in
they're Mandalas of Joy, it's called, and
oh,
they're all different mandala designs that are hand drawn by me. So
but beautiful.
yeah. Oh, hi, Pamela. Pamela Mann is here.
Oh, hi, Pamela.
She's one of our guides in the Creatively Fit coaching program.
Yeah, I actually knew Pamela before the program, and we were on another call, and I don't even know how I didn't notice, because we talk about paintings and I see her paintings in the background. And then on one of the calls that we were on, I was sharing that I was doing the Creatively Fit Coach program, and she told me that she had done that. I was like, oh, what a small world. Maybe that's how it all came through. Maybe that energy channeled through me.
Mm-hmm. Pamela says hello and sending us hearts. Thanks, Pamela. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you, Pamela.
So yeah, what else questions do I? If there's no more questions?
Well, what drew you to create the Artist Cafe?
I just wanted, well, we were doing the 21-day challenge of going live on Facebook. And I just decided I love promoting other people, other artists. So I thought it would be a good way to promote other artists. And if anyone in our group was a little bit shy or didn't want to do a live by themselves, I thought like going in this format would be less intimidating for them. So yeah, and I've just kept it going. I do a different live every week.
That's awesome. Well, and it gives you that opportunity, like you said, it gives people the opportunity to get on there and share what they're doing and get comfortable in front of the camera. So
plus I'm always interested in people's stories, where they come from and what they do. So it's yeah, just my own interest too. And
yeah, I feel like when I go into certain media, groups, and it's like, well, what do you do? And in the past, I'd be like, oh, I'm a CPA, right? It's like, well, that's a title, but it doesn't really explore, something about yourself and get to know people. Like one of the groups I was in, it was like, well, what's your favorite dessert? It just kind of that icebreaker, get to know people more, like you talking about, scuba diving and tattoos and those type of things. It's just like, oh, okay, hey, we have something in common. Let's talk about that.
For sure, yeah. So what else do you do? What other hobbies do you have outside of making art?
Oh gosh, well, I used to run a lot when I was working. I started with a half marathon, went into marathons, went into ultras, went into triathlons, and then I just got too sick. I couldn't do it anymore. And so I've kind of put all of that on the back burner, but I love being in nature. So hiking, I did Half Dome a couple summers ago, which is, they have cables going up Half Dome in Yosemite. And that was quite an experience. So I just, getting out in nature is my happiest. Go and riding a bike if it's not too much traffic. And then, scuba diving, I haven't done in a really long time. I used to enjoy doing that. And now it's just, I used to keep myself so busy doing stuff. And now I find joy in just relaxing and reading and journaling. I think it's more of those creative outlets. And then just like walking and being in nature. Painting has definitely turned into something I love to do. It's just, I don't know. I'm discovering new hobbies that I enjoy. And
I love going for walks too, getting out in nature. That's one thing I love to do, just to clear my head and just to relax. And some of my best ideas come when I'm walking.
Yeah, I try to meditate, and it's really hard. I got my little squirrel brain going. It's busy. When I go and walk, like it just starts coming, it comes through. And I think, my body's being distracted. and it gives it an opportunity to show up.
For sure, yeah. I have a question from Christine. She asks, what other art forms are you ladies interested in exploring?
Ooh, do you want to answer that one first, or you want me to?
You know what? One thing I want to try is welding.
Oh.
I want to take a course in artistic welding at some point. It's been on my list of to-do list. So
that would be really cool, actually.
Yeah.
I watch, so I have 2 boys, and we like to watch shows together in the evening. And we've been watching Forged in Fire lately, where they're making the knives and swords and blades and all that, and doing the welding. So what other forms? Well, watercolors, I talked about that. I actually started with the pens that were preloaded. If you've seen those, they are right here. So you get it already has the color in it, and it has the paintbrush on it. And then I can just dip it in the water. This was the one where I started just letting it flow. Obviously, I love painting. The other thing that I love, and we were talking about the salt, was I was on a retreat a couple weeks ago, and I took my pastels with me, and I was sitting by the creek and just kind of coloring, which I do. I love the vibrancy of the colors. But then these dogs that were with me came by, and they just soaked me in water, and they soaked my little drawing pad. But it was really cool, because then I was like, oh yeah, these are water. And I started taking my pastels and moving them around with the water. So that was kind of a good, like a neat surprise of how you just add water to something and it changes it, but it makes it so beautiful. And the other thing is, I'm looking over here because that's where the crystals, taking those and just, I sprinkle them over the paper, and then I just squirt it with a water bottle, and everything transforms.
Nice.
So really anything. I'm always like, what can I do, and what can I create, and how can I turn this into something?
Yeah, Pamela says those paint pens would be great for travel.
Yes.
And what a new thing to try.
Yeah.
And Christine says she always wanted to try glass blowing. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Yeah.
There's another show on glass blowing that we watch.
It's amazing to watch, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a lot of work. Both of those. You're working. Yeah. Yeah, I'm in my nice air conditioned room, and they're in front of fire and stuff. So it's impressive.
It is, yeah. Get pretty hot.
Yeah. And there's other stuff that I want to try. There's certain, so I do journals. I create journals where I do collaging. In verses on paper, I would do it on canvas, but I take pictures of it and I would turn it into journals. And so, there's so many ways to be creative. That's the beauty of it.
There is, yeah.
You could take something that you did and put it on a shirt if you wanted to, or a pop socket.
Like, even going to the beach and rearranging stones, that is a creative process.
Yes. Yeah. My youngest loves to do that wherever we go. You'll find him stacking rocks.
We're building sandcastles too. Some comments. Yes, that is magical and fun, from Pamela. And Pamela also says that is on my list to try. This is sparking some new ideas for me. I am finding this very inspiring, from Pamela.
Oh, good.
It's great. I love to inspire. That's one thing.
Yeah. Well, and maybe we'll have to do a group paint session and see what comes from it.
For sure. Yeah, that would be fun.
Do bring an idea of something to incorporate in, and we can't be there all to switch our canvases off, but to see what comes from that when you bring other people's energy into your paint space. So you've been painting a while, because if I recall, didn't you go to school for art?
I did, yes. I went to the Ontario College of Art in Toronto, which is kind of a rather prestigious kind of school, but after that, I had art shows and traveled a lot, and I eventually ended up being a multimedia designer, which I ended up working freelance from home and raised my 2 kids in the meantime on that. So in 2020, I decided to return to making art full time. So that is, I am here, and
awesome.
Creatively.
Do you find that there's more like a pressure or an expectation to deliver a certain level of art? Whereas like for me, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing it. And I'm, it's like maybe it flows easier for someone who's new versus someone who's been doing it a long time.
Yeah, I think it does. It might be easier for someone that's just starting out with kind of no expectations, and yeah, I'm trying to get away from that though, like the perfectionism again. Like I'm trying to get away from the perfectionism and the end results, and focusing more on the process as well. So I've been kind of relearning, getting back to the childlike mind again, which has been really good.
Yeah, I've done a few where I've just put the paint on my hands, and I blindfolded myself one time. I had like the general colors that I wanted to paint with, and I put them in my tray, and then I blindfolded myself and just like what showed up. And that was really fun. And the other, it was like on a black canvas too. I really find I enjoy painting on a black canvas. There's something about it. I don't know. It's just like the paints and how they show up. I really enjoy that.
And it's like coming out of the darkness too.
And the colors just pop. Yeah.
Oh, and another question from Christine. She says, "Who inspires you creatively?" Sorry.
Do you want to answer that one first?
Who inspires me? Perhaps there's been a lot of inspiration from different artists. I think you're talking about who, what artists. I'm trying to think. My mind has just gone blank right now.
Well, I can kind of, I don't really have an artist that I follow. There's certain people out there, like I look at what they do. But what I do love, what really inspires me is having people, other people just share their art, wherever it's at, because I know how vulnerable that can feel to put it out there. And just like, because there's, like I said, there's a couple that I painted and I was like, oof, that didn't come out so good. But it's really like to challenge that part of me that doesn't want anyone to see that and put it out there. So when people put their art out in whatever form, that really does inspire me and excites me to do something new, because I always see something like, oh, I never thought of that. And it brings something new. Whereas if we didn't share our art, like how are people going to know that there's, all of this beautiful creativity out there in the world?
Yeah, because there's so much amazing stuff out there, and like everything is so inspiring. It's hard to like say exactly like what, like who specifically inspires you, I think.
Yeah, and there's so many forms. So someone posted on Facebook, on social media, there's this contest by the duct tape. I guess it's called duct tape, right? That's the company that makes it, I suppose. I don't know. I don't follow that stuff too closely. There was a competition to create with duct tape, and this young gal created her whole prom dress out of duct tape, and it was amazing. It was like the base of it was black, but then she had like the neon duct tape running around, like ribbons and flowers, and like wow, it like so that kind of stuff is so cool.
There was that one contest with the toilet rolls too, making toilet paper dresses.
Oh, I didn't see that
a while back. No, it was a while back. Yeah.
Maybe not during the pandemic, because
no.
in high demand.
it was way before that, but I remember they were having fashion shows with these dresses made from toilet paper.
Oh, yeah. There you can get creative with all of that stuff.
And I have a question from Pamela. Do you enjoy coaching art students or painting and teaching by recorded sessions?
Oh, that one's going to be more for you, I think.
I think coaching art or painting. I like teaching painting live rather than the coaching part. I'm still learning about the coaching part myself. So
Well, it's like we learn by doing, right? Like I think everybody enjoys being live more. Like there's just that energy of being in the room with other people. There's like, it's just, it's like uh, watching, again, I'm referring to this weekend because it's most recent, but watching Whitney and Maisha and I think it was Kim, right? They were all painting and they were switching off canvases. And just you get that energy and you don't know what's going to show up. But I think also there is something in being able just to create and like have it recorded for other people. So I don't know. Personally, myself, I haven't done any live coaching around painting. So that's yet to be determined how I feel. But I think both has their benefits.
So with your other coaching that you do, is it in person or in groups?
It's been all, either on the phone or over Zoom, depending, just because there's like people from all over the United States that I have done it with. Actually, when I trained to become the certified money coach, I had a practice client who was in Greece and he was going through the program at the same time. So that was cool. But no, it's all online. And then even the group one that I did for the Vision by Design, we were doing it online as a group. And then I have a smaller group that we meet. And it still works. When you show up in Zoom, you can send your energy anywhere. So I have not yet done it in person, but I am wanting to do some type of retreat or something for them. I think that that'd be really fun. And then of course, painting would be a part of it. Yeah,
my ultimate goal is to be doing live retreats in wonderful places in different places of the world. Yes. That is my ultimate goal.
Yeah, I know. I've been eyeballing Costa Rica lately.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been.
I haven't been there either, but it looks like a perfect place for a retreat. And Bali.
Yeah, I would love to go back to Australia. I loved Australia. That would be a great place for a retreat. Even if it's just me, I'll go. I'll invite myself.
Retreat, right?
Yeah.
Oh, some comments. Yes, saw those, very creative. Saw one from balloons too. Oh, I think she's talking about the toilet paper dresses.
Yeah.
Saw one from balloons. Yeah.
There's so much that can be done out there. I mean, just think about like you were saying, going back to the basics and the fundamentals, right? The ABCs of painting even is, I always think about, okay, well, if I was working with some kinders, like, kindergartners, what would I do? And how would I create this? Because then it frees up the mind. Like if you make it simple, or at least if I make it simple and I think I have to explain this to children, like how would I do that? And I used to go into my son's classroom. They would have parents come in and they would do art every month. And you think you've got it down until you have to explain it to a bunch of kids. But that was fun. If you ever want to try out your painting, go find a classroom to volunteer in.
Yeah, I have done some they're kind of like paint night classes, that type of thing as well. And I did a few kids classes too, which were interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, kids they're easier to teach than adults, because adults have a fear of making mistakes, but kids, they're just, they'll just go ahead and do whatever, right? With no fear.
It's interesting. So I don't know where I'm curious where that threshold is. I didn't do art every year because part of it, I was working like crazy. And so I didn't have time to go be in the classroom for the paint every month. But like go and read in the morning or something with the kids that I could do. And my son was in 5th grade and I kind of signed on for one of the moms that would do it every month. And I went in one time and one of the things we said was just draw. Like I gave them kind of some instructions, but be free with it. And already by 5th grade, the kids are pulling out their rulers and they're wanting to know what to draw. And like they had already gotten into that headspace. So I'm like, wow, what grade is it that the kids transition from, I'm just going to sit down at a piece of paper and do whatever, versus like, okay, I have this box, what am I going to put here, and how to, and measuring it all out and being frozen with not getting something on the paper.
Yeah, I'm not sure the age. Like I would say like maybe 8 or 10, maybe.
Yeah, probably. I was thinking like 3rd grade. I don't know why. Maybe 3rd grade's that magic number where it switches over. But I don't know. I'll have to ask a teacher because I know.
Yeah. Another question from Christina. What are your favorite painting techniques and tools?
I have a go-to brush. It broke recently. So I got to glue it or something. So I taped it. So I love my brushes, like this fine tip one. I can do so much with it. If I get the paint thick on there, I can do really fine detail. Like there's one big black canvas I have and I'm doing flowers and they're really small and tiny. But then if I want to do big strokes, I can do it as well. Cause there's one that I did where I do like really thick, chunky paint on there that I love to do. So that's a favorite. My sponges, these are super cheap. I mean, you probably get them at the dollar store, a pack of them, which if I want to erase something that I did, or if I want to kind of spread the colors across. And this is going to seem really weird, but I think you can make art tools out of anything if it's in here. Oh, what did I do with it? Everything's kind of all over the place. Well, I can't find it, but I have a metal letter opener and I got it. It was my uncle's and it has like a fine tip on it. And so whenever I'm doing my crystal stuff, I will dip it in there and I can, because it's such a fine point, I can use it and spread it across. And then also like if I want to do some etching into the paint, it's a great way to scrape stuff away. So that's another one of my fun favorite tools.
Yeah, I like, well, I usually work in acrylic paints. I love acrylics because they dry fast. And a lot of times I want to work fast in many layers too. And I also like to use a little sponge here. It's a different sponge that you have. It's a sea sponge, but it's part of a like a bigger one that you can buy. It's like a natural sponge that from the ocean.
Yeah.
But these are great.
Yep. That reminds me. So this is going to be another one. So I have, because talking about the sponges, I have these little guys and they're makeup sponges. Yeah. So again, but like I got a pack of these at the dollar store. So I got 20 of them or whatever to use. And they do all kinds of different, I don't know, you make different things. And then I think just adding the water to them, it kind of softens stuff out sometimes.
And I only started using stencils too from Whitney's course. I didn't use stencils beforehand, but yeah, the stencils are a great little tool.
Yeah, and I made my own. I've been looking for the material that stencils are made out of, because supposedly like Michael's has where you can buy just a sheet of it. I haven't found those yet, but I got one of my really thick papers out of my paint journals, because like you have the mixed media journals. If you have those, they're pretty thick.
Yeah. And
so what I did is, I think it was for even the Tara painting, is she had one of the symbols that we were painting. And so I printed it out and then I kind of drew it on this really thick stock and cut it out. And it actually has worked pretty well, because it's not like I'm doing watercolor where it gets wet. Like, I'm big on acrylics too. So it, I just kind of, that's what these little sponges are great for, is the stencils, because the paintbrushes, I can't get in there. I feel like it doesn't do it as well, or sometimes it will smear underneath. Whereas these, they work really well.
Did you ever make potato stamps as a kid. Like
Oh
cutting
yeah.
half of a potato, then carving something into it, and then
Yeah.
stamping that on. I haven't
Oh,
tried it lately, but it just kind of came to me right now.
okay. I think I may do that actually.
And
That's a good idea.
some comments from Pamela. I have a porcupine quill that I scratch with and use for dots and eyelashes. I love the sea sponges. The smaller paint brushes are my preference as well. And yes, I ordered those blank stencils online from Michael's.
Oh,
I
okay.
I
You'll have
plan
to
to
share it,
make
Pamela.
labyrinth stencils. Oh, and the
Ooh,
stencils really help the adults that say they can't draw. It opens them up for
yes.
sure. Yeah, the stencils are a great tool for the beginners, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love the idea of labyrinth stencils.
Mm-hmm.
I have a painting where like the labyrinth just came through and I was like, okay, I'm just going with it.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool to have some stencils for
Yeah,
that.
because it does take a while to draw it. So if you had the stencil handy, that would be
Yeah.
great. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done a few stencils here and there. And I'm kind of playing with that too. You know, it's like that perfectionist is just even, okay, if I do this stencil, I don't have to do it all the same color. It doesn't have to be like, you know, solid all the way around, and really just opening up and releasing into that. But I love, so what Pamela said, the porcupine quilt, first, I don't know
Mm,
where I would find that. I'm sure there's porcupines around here, but I haven't
yeah,
run into
I
anything.
actually have some that I found through hikes around here.
Oh, well, you know, and I'm close to the Sierras, but I just have never seen any. I do, however, have a lot of feathers, so
Hmm.
I probably could use one of those.
Yeah, because I have a feather collection as well too from being out hiking around.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
feathers would be.
here's a little tip for everybody listening. If you have a Labrador, don't leave your feathers down low. So I have in our little courtyard area, I have a table, and on the bottom, I had this tray and it had a bunch of feathers in it and it had a rock
Mm.
on top. And he found it and he was chomping to town, and then he was trying to take down all the other feathers. So
Oh no.
I had to put him up high. And so every once in a while, I'll see him outside and he's like, what do you got up on that table?
Yeah, Pamela said, yeah, thanks for the confirmation to follow up on creating them and selling them, the
Yes.
labyrinth
Yes.
stencils. Yes.
If you do, let me know. I'll buy one.
Yep, I'll buy one too.
Yeah. I even like what's coming to mind, Pamela, is I kind of see like almost like a snowflake labyrinth where you could do like the outside doesn't necessarily need to be circle, but you can have a labyrinth within it. I don't know. Maybe that's for me to paint, but that was the image that popped into my mind.
Sounds good. So I think if there's no more questions, oh, Christine says, me too, Pamela. Christine wants a stencil too, a labyrinth stencil.
Yeah. So what's next for you? Where are you going? What are you doing?
Well, I'm going to be creating some online workshops with creative flick coaching. I have an elephant mural coming up in town here.
Ooh,
So a few artsy things coming up. And
very cool.
how about yourself?
Oh, well, I have a few art courses as well. So one of them I'm just is going to be like the Eternal Artist Masterclass. So for beginners to all levels and just welcome people in. And then I'm going to be doing one called Naked Painting. And you don't have to be naked, but
Okay.
you know, like sometimes it can feel like that when you're at a canvas. So those are the two that are on my mind right now as far as painting goes. And then working on finishing my book, getting like the final edits done. And that's been really fun. I think, you know, anyone who wants to do anything like that, you can, because I put all my own art in there just because I felt like, well, if I'm going to create something, make it fun. So those are kind of the places that I'm at right now. And then just finishing off some canvases that I'm working on. or maybe changing them completely. I don't know. I'm just kind of excited to, like, I've learned all this new stuff lately, and I'm excited to give it a go. Like eyes and faces, those are the hardest for me. Everybody ends up looking.
Those are my favorite.
They are or not?
They are my favorite. I love faces. Yeah.
I'll have to get some tips from you then, because they are a challenge for me. It's the nose.
It's all about proportions, measurements too, like to get the left side of the brain.
Yeah. Yep. So all of my faces end up looking exactly the same. Like I'm looking at them right now and I'm like, oh, my Buddha looks like my this and like, so we'll see. It's all good though. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Oh, Pamela was asking for a link for the Paint Jam replay. I'll post a link to where you can get the 12, I think, courses that they did.
Yeah.
And where can people find you?
Oh, well, obviously on Facebook, Robina Bennion, and also anywhere. My website is robinabennion.com, Robina Bennion on Instagram. And if you don't remember my name, Painting Doula, you can find me that way as well.
Okay, and you'll post your link in the comments too.
Yes.
After we're done here.
Yeah. Well, before we go, thank you. I enjoyed chatting with you and appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me. This has been so much fun. And this is the Artist Cafe. So we're saying goodbye for now.
Bye for now.